This video is a recording of a live event, about an hour and 15-minute webinar, and it's really packed with all sorts of energy healings and information and explorations into the fine abstract layers of creation. I hope you love it. If you do, please like and subscribe. Thank you for being with me. What is energy healing? This is a specific way of focusing attention to produce effects in the material field of creation that are predictable. Focusing attention to produce predictable effects. So how is it that attention alone can produce predictable results? Well, we all know that attention sits in the gap between material and non-material. That's why if somebody's looking at you or even thinking about you from a distance, you feel it, right? How many people had that experience? Someone was looking at you and you felt like somebody's looking, you turn around and look and, oh, somebody's looking at you. Yeah, lots of hands. Oh, many, many hands are raising. Almost everybody, almost everyone. Yeah, so this is a very common experience. Why? Because attention has the power to touch the physiology. Oh, so okay, if attention has the power to touch the physiology, then maybe if the physiology is feeling ill, the physical body's feeling ill, maybe we could bring the attention in a way, our own attention, folding in on our own self. So this is like a self-referral loop of attention in a way that would create a specific effect, right? Because if somebody's, suppose I want you to see my pretty necklace. If somebody's looking at you from behind and they're thinking, ooh, that person, I'm gonna punch them in the nose, then that attention that you feel could be different than if somebody's looking at you or thinking of you from a distance and thinking, oh, my beloved, sweet, adorable person who I can't get enough of, right? It's a different, because attention comes in angles, in different feelings. That's why this energy healing session, this live webinar on feelings is really important, because we realize that the attention that flows is colored by the feelings that we have. Oh, so it's a key, right? Employing certain feelings is going to make the angle of the attention come in specific ways, and then that will affect the physiology in predictable ways. So it's something that you've had all along. It's something that you are fully capable of doing and is totally easy for you. Like, we can all do this. Anybody can do this. This is like a low-hanging fruit, folks. This has been sitting there. The technology of using attention in a way that can actually heal the body has been sitting with us for a really long time. And so it really is time. It really is time to be harnessing that potential. That's why today we're going to talk about emotions. I hope that makes sense. And of course, there's more to it, obviously, than that. That's why we're going to take an hour and a half, hour and 15. But at least that kind of gives you a sort of sense and overview and feel for what's going on. All right. Let's go into our silence. Okay, why are we going to take 3 minutes of silence? Because one of the things attention does is it has this, it's completely unbound by space and time. I mean, really, right? You can study history and you can put your attention on things of the past, or you could study cosmology and you can put your attention on things far, far away, like moving way faster than the speed of light, right? Attention just boom, the sun and back, boom, Alpha Centauri and back, or whatever. Why did we go into silence? Because attention not only can traverse space and time of which we are familiar, but it can also traverse areas of creation with which we are unfamiliar. And so a lot of the, I would say, the seeds of illness and the problems that we face, the solutions lie in those areas of which we are unfamiliar, right? Because if we had the solution sitting obviously in front of us, then we would just pluck it. But the reason that sometimes illnesses are like congenital or chronic, or they seem to have no medical antidotes or solutions, because we haven't found the seed of them. And the seed, therefore, is sitting in the places we haven't looked. So the ocean of consciousness, the ocean of reality. It has a range of manifestation from very abstract to very dense. And what we do in energy healing is we scan the entire field. And I'm using my picture, my background picture, as a metaphor for this. The water part down here represents the home of all the laws of nature, the infinite, eternal, unbounded, silent source of creation. And the sky part represents the part that is manifest. But the manifest part has a spectrum from being very, very fine, like almost you can barely perceive it at all, very abstract, very subtle, to very concrete. And at the concrete level, we find our physical material reality, right? Our physical bodies and all the laws of space and time come into play here, and they have a binding effect on our perception and experience. But when awareness goes down, it dives down like a deep sea diver to those deeper levels, then those binding effects of space and time and the fields or dimensions of experience that are the home of the seeds of experience, there we find those. So some illness crops up in the body at the surface, but we look for the seed deep down inside. And also awareness or attention is more powerful as we get closer to the source of creation. So 3 minutes of silence so that we can take a moment of quietness as a collective, as a group, and really enjoy what that feels like. Even just closing the eyes, it starts to happen. The awareness starts to settle down and experience that silent source of creation, that deep eternal silence that's within each of us. We're anchored to that. Our awareness is anchored. It's made of that. Awareness is made of that. So we'll just take a few minutes of silence here to experience that. Thanks for bearing with me. All right. I'll ask you to close the eyes. And when I ask you to open the eyes after 3 minutes, please take a minute or so to do that. The slower we come out, the more we integrate the experience of silence. All right, let's close our eyes. Let's slowly open our eyes. We'll make a prayer of gratitude. Thank you to the source of creation for everything, for being everything, for the, each person in this live webinar and the entire universe around each person in this webinar. Thank you for all of it. It's amazing. Thank you to the eternal tradition of wisdom for being the connector between the source of creation and the entire field of the manifest. Thank you for our ability to work concisely and efficiently. Thank you for the hour that we're spending together. I absolutely love our time together, and I'm really so grateful. Thank you for everything. And just to let everyone know, because so much is political these days, that the reason we're moving is not for political reasons. It's because we're going to become grandparents. Yay. So anyway, just letting everybody know. Not to confuse. We don't want to confuse, right? Just want the truth. Yeah. Hey, lots of hands up. Like, thank you. Thank you. It's very exciting. All right. So questions. Okay, so a question just came in from anonymous attendee. And this question is very similar to another question that came in last night. So let's maybe look at these both together and see how they roll. So the one from last night is here, and they're worded a little differently. Actually, we'll do this one first because it came in first. What level of consciousness is most able to break through the collective mind control? That's how she stated it. We are all experiencing and observing. How can, and this is so beautifully put here, how can we mirror back the light with a capital L within to reflect back through the fear to the truth? See, there's a fear to the truth that will set us all free. Beautifully put. You can tell she's a poet. Thank you for the question. And then here it is. It seems that a prevalent emotion being experienced by our world family now is fear. Oh, see, similar question. Can we do a healing to remove all obstacles to love? And that all capitalized, that word love, being the prevalent emotion that we are all experiencing. It would be so much more healthy, joyful, and uplifting. Thank you. Gosh, yes. Okay. And I know I didn't do the recap of yesterday, but maybe we'll bring in a few points as we go along. When the environment reflects, when it rises up in a way that produces an experience of anger or fear or tension or anxiety or love and feeling freedom or whatever the feeling is, that is our personal response to the environmental input, it means that experience was already waiting inside to come out. And I think we've touched on this in older videos, older webinars, that the way the human experience is at the surface is that we come into this lifetime with you could say like a set of lessons that we'd like to learn. And yesterday we talked a little bit about the heart's desire being the seed of the experiences that we have in the human lifetime. So the seed, it comes in at the birth, and then it shapes the experience as the individual goes through the life. And you can't comfortably, it would be overwhelming to try to learn all the lessons at the same time. The physiology has to adapt, that the expansion of consciousness and the evolution of the soul is based on two things. It's based on becoming wiser and integrating the wisdom. So the nervous system, the physical body, is involved in the process of evolution as much as the field of awareness or the field of consciousness is involved. they work together. They have to work together. And that's one of the things that makes the human experience so unique, is that we have this opportunity for our conscious awareness. When the conscious awareness is present at all levels of the spectrum of expression of self. So there are beings that don't have physical bodies, right? So they're down here in this level. They don't have the physical bodies up here. And so they get to have a lot of the experiences that one has as consciousness develops, but they don't have that lovely experience of integrating the consciousness, the newly expanded wisdom and consciousness and refining perception with the physiology. So human experience lets us do that, and that's really, really special. All right. Sorry, I keep getting derailed so much, guys. Thanks for bearing with me. It's a lot happening. The fear rises up because it needs to be purified. It needs to be released. It needs to be handled. It needs to be processed and integrated. It needs to be, and that goes for any negative or positive emotion, that in order to become a wiser person, we need to understand that particular feeling really deeply, and not only understand the feeling, but understand the mechanics of how we interface with the feeling in order to use it as a tool for evolution. So the fear is here as a tool for evolution. If we look at the fear, what it does is it's basically physically associated with the dosha, and I'm using the word dosha is a Vedic term, and I'm using to describe a physical feature of the body. It's physical, it also has emotional and mental correlates, but the dosha vata, there's 3 doshas for the body, vata, pitta, and kapha. And the vata dosha is the one that experiences fear. So what does that mean? It means that when the vata dosha is out of balance in the physiology, then fear can build up in the physiology. And if we ignore it and pretend like, if we try to avoid it, and avoidance is one of the ways we sometimes, it's a very old inherited way of handling stress and problems, then what happens is the environment, what will happen is if that feeling needs to be handled in spite of running away or trying to ignore it, then the environment will bring it up and will put it in a person's face. So that's what's happening. We have a kind of socio-political construct that we're in right now, that we're living in as a human race on Earth, that favors the manifestation of situations and conditions that exacerbate the feeling of fear and kind of activate it. They get it livened up. They get it moving. They get it moving. So when the fear rises up, I was looking really deeply at this morning. The best antidote, and I think this brings us to the idea of reflecting the light back, and I think there could be another question that it also brings to. The best antidote is to witness the feeling. How do we witness the feeling? I mean, the feelings are really not a problem, right? They're useful. They bring a lot of energy. Fear especially brings the energy that kind of gets you moving. Fear is a get you moving kind of energy. You run like fight or flight, right? Fight would be like the anger energy, but flight is the fear energy. So witness, we witness. How do we witness? Awareness comes back to the source of creation. We get underneath it. Where is the fear lodged? These days, generally, I'm seeing the fear lodged up in the denser levels of the physiology, emotional, mental, etheric, and physical. So we don't have to even necessarily go all the way to the source of creation to handle the fear. We just need to get down deep enough that we're underneath it. Because anytime you're looking at a problem from the surface, it looks very big, because this spectrum of density of manifest field of creation, it spreads out, it becomes larger, more universal, more unbounded. The closer you get to the infinitely unbounded, the infinite, eternal, field of pure consciousness. So at the surface, everything's bound and constrained, right? Like my body's so tall, and the differences here and there everywhere in the physical field. So it's bound and constrained. It's like a field of smallness, we could say. And then the field becomes more abstract as we go deeper, deeper. And then it becomes really, really abstract down here at this deep, that looks funny, right? My fingers are saying hello. It comes right down here. It's very unbounded. It's like an ocean. The body's like an ocean down here at the causal level of creation. All right. So we need to get underneath it. So how do we do that? Well, one of the reasons we do the silence at the beginning of these sessions is it just gives a chance to dive down and feel what that feels like for awareness to go inward. The nature of our world is that there's so much stimulation and so many things to think about and so many things to do and so forth, that tends to bring us out. And I really think that with the advent of, she says, as she shows you her necklace, with the advent of social media, it's become far more, the internet, the social media, it's so much. There's so much content. There's so much content. Literally, none of us will ever see it all. I mean, I don't know what the statistics are for like how many YouTube videos are uploaded every day or how many TikTok videos are uploaded every day, but it's a lot. So what that means is that there's a lot of material on the surface to draw awareness outward. We don't tend to balance it as much with the inward stroke. But the events of the last year and a half have driven people inward, right? They've driven us to be a little more quiet, a little bit more in our own space, a little bit more focusing in. And the reason for that is that the outward direction of awareness and the getting involved in all this does aggravate vata. It aggravates it. Even the nature of the machines that we put ourselves in front of with the EMFs, they have a tendency to aggravate vata in the body. So what's happening is the body, the environment is showing that there's this imbalance that needs to be addressed. All right, let's address it. Now, putting attention on the doshas. Oh, in energy healing, we put our attention on the thing that is imbalanced. Putting our attention on the doshas is a little different from putting our attention on a specific organ or system or cell or whatever. The doshas are more like overarching, systemically present principles in the body. The vata dosha, the one that is in question right now, is resides in association with the two elements air and space. Pitta dosha is fire and water, and kapha dosha is water and earth. So vata sits in the air and space areas of the body. Therefore, in the doorway in to isolating or finding, locating vata dosha within us is to put attention on the air and space elements in the physiology. We'll just take a minute, put the attention there. That means the gaps. Their airs, all the doshas have 5 subdoshas. So vata has, a dosha like more in the upper body, and then in the middle body, and 2 in the upper, the middle, and 2 in the lower part of the body. And sorry, I don't have all those names memorized and descriptions, but just putting attention on the air and space in the body. You may notice if you close the eyes and do that, it starts to settle down, that kind of anxiety, kind of feeling, that sort of super moving. Vata is very moving and quick and light and all that, which is good. These are all good qualities when they're balanced in the body, but when they're too much, they need to settle down, like settling down the kids. And what I'm noticing as awareness settles down and goes into the air and space elements of the physiology is the next thing that happens is a wave of sweetness in the heart, like a wave of love. And the thing about the heart center is that it really is the administrator of all the body functions, but also the ability to come to bring it in attention or awareness, but to bring it in with this compassion, like that love feeling is a kind of compassionate sensitivity, empathy, mercy. And those are feeling more. Was I thinking, oh, am I feeling forgiveness? No, not so much. More just like appreciation and recognition and just appreciation for how amazing the physiology is, right? How we have these different, we're made, our body's made of these 5 elements. It is divine. It is divine, made of these 5 elements. So that heart flow, the heart flow does is it catalyzes the healing process. The healing process itself is a movement of consciousness deep down here in the gap between the unmanifest ocean of being and the finest manifest level of creation. Pain, physical pain is associated with a vata imbalance. Heat is associated obviously with um, pitta, the fire dosha, and the kapha, the earth dosha, will be often associated with more like effects in the body of things moving very slowly, like if the digestion moves really slowly. And there's certain types of pain, more like deep aches are more kapha-ish, whereas more sharp pains are more vata-ish. And like itching is a pitta, is the fire. But pain itself, the nature of pain, is more of a vata imbalance. So a lot of compassion. Now that feeling in the heart is moving way more onto the compassion spectrum of feeling. And the propagation of the awareness colored with compassion, moving into all the spaces of the body. The ears, the mouth, the sinus cavities, but also places like the ventricles of the brain and the chambers of the heart and all the organs that have chambers within them. There are many, the kidneys, getting a real light up for the kidneys. That's so good. Clearing fear from the kidneys. Oh. The thing about the kidneys is that they sit in the back being a place where it's more like hidden information. And one of the roles of the kidneys obviously is to sort and categorize, right? It's like, I think the second spot, where the nutrient-rich blood comes from the gut and it goes first to the liver, then it goes to the kidneys. So it's like the second stop of this nutrient-rich blood. Huh. But because the kidneys are in the back, that's where we deal with information that's hidden. It's also a place where we deal with the past. The kidneys, the back is the past. And so karma accrues from the past. And yesterday we did a big healing for incompletions because desires rise up and then eventually, whether it's immediately or in a single lifetime or later, they are resolved and completed and fulfilled. And so there's this process by which there's more unfulfilled desire in the past than there is in the future. Because as we move along through the timeline of the human experience, we fulfill desires, we complete things, we do those things that we wanted to do. So the kidneys represent not only things hidden from view, so subtler, things in the subtler field. And the way the kidneys function is very subtle. It's abstract enough that it's one of the areas, I have my sister-in-law is a medical doctor, and she was really interested when she found out I was doing energy healing. And she said, if you ever find a solution or a healing for the kidneys, it would be greatly appreciated because modern medicine doesn't really have, Western medicine doesn't really have a lot of effective treatments for kidneys. I mean, there's dialysis, but, one would hope that there would be a way to heal the kidneys before it comes to replacing your blood every 3 days, right? So, yeah, that's an area. It's mysterious. It's mysterious to Western medicine. And I think one of the reasons is that the nature of the kidneys is to represent that which is abstract, which is hidden, which is at a level that requires very, very deep discrimination in order to uncover or unfurl what's happening there. And of course, the kidneys have such an important job of regulating blood pressure in the body. And the heart is the orchestrator, the heart is the administrator of basically almost all physical functions from the level of electromagnetic influence, because the heart's electromagnetic field is so powerful, the beating of the heart so powerful. So the kidneys are like, kidneys and the spleen are taking care of the heart. So like they have like a really vital role, a really important role in the body. Clearing fear from the kidneys, clearing fear from the adrenal glands, clearing fear from the endocrine system in general, overall, but also clearing ancestral fear of the unknown, of those subtle areas of creation. Clearing also illusions and beliefs that, and these are also ancestral, that if something is not obvious or it's unknown, then it's somehow bigger and scarier than me, that somehow it's outside of my range of autonomy. And it's true that we have to get awareness into areas in order to affect those areas well. Remember, we also journey into the unknown in sleep and dream state, in experiences that we have defined as unconscious and subconscious experiences. But that's why people's lives, that's why we live, right? That's why we somehow don't just implode immediately, or that's why things manage to continue moving forward. Even though we face challenges and lessons and problems in life, we still manage to somehow muddle through, right? Because we are actually fathoming those deep areas, and our consciousness absolutely resides at those deep areas, whether we are consciously aware of it or not. And you have support. You have support from your connection to the source of creation, which is absolutely good. So that anchor is getting stronger, and that anchor is getting stronger for the kidneys. And one of the ways it's getting stronger for the kidneys, so this is like a part of the body that's realizing its potential. We could say the kidneys are realizing their potential. Because consciousness, as it starts to manifest, it can create orderly structures. So awareness coming in with the right emotion is part of the story. But another part of the story is that we start to build a scaffolding upon which the physical material reality sits. And we build it from the ground up, the foundation up, that finest intention of the heart, that really deep intention that helps set the stage for optimal healing. It activates your body's healing intelligence. That's happening here at the causal level. But at the astral level, the next layer up, I'm using my background as a metaphor for the field of consciousness. At the astral level is where we encounter the web of life. The astral level is where the laws of nature that allow awareness to flow in specified regions, like you pick up a thread of an idea. Even people will talk about like you're picking up a thread of an idea and then elaborating or unpacking it or evolving through that elaboration. So same thing, that at the astral level, there are all these threads of awareness. Awareness just appears as threads. And I do have a picture. I guess I can flash it up here for everybody, made by my dear and amazing cosmic friend, Harry Alto. He's an artist. Oh, look, it's the web of life. So there's, you can barely see it because my chair's in the way, but there's this little stick figure guy right here. For those of you who haven't seen it, we can attach this picture for you to view under magnification at home. But anyway, the little guy is here, and all these threads, all this field of threads around the little guy are an illustration of the way the body looks at the astral level, but also the causal level is represented here too, because there are all these little nodes along here that have other little tinier stick figure guys here and here and here and here that are manifest forms of consciousness, which are actually, they comprise, they represent like big sections, like this section right here, comprise regions of your causal body as well. So this illustration here is supposed to take you from the causal level of creation, the deepest, all the way to the most manifest. It's a lovely thing. You should definitely check out Harry Alto. I've interviewed him on my website, and Andrew Hewson and I have interviewed. Of course, he's got a backup, but he's a great guy, a very cosmic, very amazing man. Highly recommended, beautiful person. And anyway, and he said I could share his picture as much as I wanted. So it's like a pleasure to have that to share with all of you. Anyway, the point is that the kidneys have a little life force in them. They have a soul. The kidneys have a soul, and a particular part of the body can reach down and connect to its anchor into the source of creation. Even if some other part of the body, like the head or the mouth at this, at this point, are busy doing something else. If the mouth is busy talking, it's no problem. The kidneys can still go, wait a minute, I've got a connection here. I've got a relationship with the source of creation. So as the connection of the kidneys, which start out physical, and the awareness is helping to soften up that love feeling in the heart, that compassion, it softens this range of expression of the physiology. So it's easier for awareness to settle down and to experience what the kidney looks like down here at the deep level of creation. And at the deep level of creation, the kidney has, you could say, its own little soul, its own little angel, its own little personality. We could say it has its own little personality that comprises a region of your causal body. And in that region, all the laws of nature responsible for the creation and the maintenance and the healing of the kidneys are in that space. So awareness connects up with it. And when you connect up with these aspects of the physiology, I use the Vedic term Devata because there is a Vedic term for that. God bless the ancient wise seers for having created names for things that we need names for. So the Devata of the physiology are the, you could say, like little angelic forms in the body that oversee and care for the different organs. As we connect up with the Devata of the kidneys, one of the things we notice is how the kidneys, being a twofold structure, one looks forward, one looks back. One is warm, one is cooler. One represents more the outward stroke of awareness, one represents more the inward stroke, right? Because this is the way the body is. The left side and the right side are like that. But it's more than that. Because they're two parts, they can reflect upon each other and they help raise each other up. The right and left look to each other and they say, oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm okay. How you doing? Right? Like the kidneys, and they're even a little curved like that. So they're kind of curved towards each other, talking to each other like that. I'm not kidding. There is a communication that takes place between the kidneys that allows them, like two eyes that are just enough different from each other that they can provide a perspective for each other. So the kidneys do this. The right kidney's a little warmer. It's a little warmer. The right kidney is therefore more responsive to certain emotions that have a warm nature to them, whereas the left kidney is more responsive to emotions that have more of a cool nature to them. And the fear tends to be a little cooler. Well, I guess it depends. Like fear can kind of run across the, if it becomes more like anxiety, or frustration, then it becomes more a little bit on the hot side. But so we're clearing fear from both sides. The kidneys are clearing from both sides, but what they're doing, this is the beauty, is that because the kidneys can look at each other, the cool kidney on the left side can look at the warm kidney and can act as the witness to the experiences. And the warm kidney can look to the cool kidney and act as a witness for the experiences. And this is what we need to do. As I mentioned at the beginning of this healing session, is that we need to get down underneath the discordant feelings in order to position ourselves to utilize the potential of those discordant feelings for evolution. They witness for each other. It's like two people who love each other. I see you're going through something. It looks like it's really hard. I love you. And then that helps. Sometimes we just need to be recognized and seen. The witnessing energy is going back and forth between the two kidneys. The astral level of the physiology, where all those threads are, is forming into a little sacred geometrical shape around the kidneys, around both of them, holding them both. It's a matrix. If you're not sure what a matrix is, you can look that up on my website, on the knowledge base. The matrix around the kidneys. And the interesting thing about matrices is they tend to be fractal in form. So they'll be like the big form of the matrix, and then they're like within the matrix, there's smaller sub forms that are like the big one, like that. So the kidneys, there's a big one, and then it's got a kind of a dual form around it. So there's one matrix for each kidney. Kind of have like an infinity symbol going back and forth between the kidneys. And what's missing in the kidneys is the kidneys have not, it's at the deep level of their, as the healing, this is like a healing matrix. It's going 64-point matrix. That's a flower of life matrix, is going around the kidneys. Is that, you can look those up. They're, can we put that diagram in the follow-up letter? We'll put Harry's picture, we'll put the diagram of the flower of life matrix. It activates the healing potential, but the thing that the kidneys have been missing is that the heart gets this, is glorified as the place where all the warm, beautiful, sweet, life-supporting feelings emanate, and the heart is like the king of the body or something, that it holds this royal position as, and certainly the administrator of the body. But the kidneys also have this amazing potential to create feelings. Oh, isn't that interesting? Now, one of the main things that the kidneys do is they're also highly discriminative. So when feelings are produced and integrated and manifested in the kidneys, this happens in a way which is extremely intelligent. So some areas of the body, we won't name names so as not to embarrass anybody, but the feelings that come there are not tied into the intellectual process at all. But the kidneys are interesting because they integrate the intellectual, the discrimination ability and function, because that's what kidneys do, guys. They have these like little filters in them, and they filter through and like, this I'm keeping, that I'm getting rid of, right? This is a kidney. And so they've got this discrimination function built into their actual structure. But because of that, they're not often given a lot of credit for the feeling. But after all, they're regulating the blood pressure. So it means that some important feelings go down in the kidneys. This is the shift is happening here in the gap. And what it's doing is it's awakening sense of self-awareness in the kidneys, in the ego, in such a way as to expand sense of self in the kidneys. What does that mean? It means that the potential, the infinite potential, human potential is infinite. The pure potential of the kidneys the pure potential, is becoming better aligned with the kidney's sense of what they are and who they are and how they function and what they're able to do in this body, in this place. The kidneys are, we just need to take a second here and feel into that. Just feel, take a moment. If you need to close the eyes, sometimes it's easier to feel around and put awareness in the body when the eyes are closed. But you don't have to. And feel those kidneys back there. There's a resonant relationship of love between the heart energy center. I use the word Mahamarma. That's another one you can look up on the website if you like. The heart energy center. And the kidneys are sitting just right in the junction between the heart Mahamarma and the gut Mahamarma. That means they integrate the area of the body where vast amounts of information are processed with the area of the body where we access the deep layers of consciousness, the causal body. Why the kidneys are such a mystery? Look, they're the organs that allow us to fathom down deep into those very subtle regions of creation and sort and categorize and understand the unknown. That's what the kidneys do. What a great thing, right? What a powerful organ they are. What an amazing thing kidneys are. So all the love and appreciation and attention and recognition is just flowing. It's flooding into the kidneys. And as it does that, it nurtures and nourishes and brings digestive byproducts, which don't usually go to kidneys. Kidneys are getting all the nutrient-rich blood, but how often do kidneys get soma? That's another word you can look up, SOMA, on the knowledge base. Soma. Kidneys when they get the soma. And you have to look that up. I don't want to take time because we're doing the healing. I don't want to take time to describe the soma, but those of you already know that, pretty familiar with soma. It goes to the kidneys. And as it goes to the kidneys, it literally feeds the devata of the kidneys. It nourishes it in a way that is profound and appreciated and necessary and absolutely beautiful. And that intelligence responsible for the kidneys, it wakes up, it grows, it expands, it integrates, it exercises its pure potential. As it exercises its pure potential to be the intelligence of your body that connects vast amounts of information. This is where we started this healing, remember? The Vata got out of balance because we have all these inputs from our world now with the internet and social media, too much vast amounts of information with the emotional wisdom of the physiology, which is what happens here in the heart. And the emotional wisdom of the physiology is represented at the causal level of creation as all the devata of the physiology. That's the wise intelligence of the body that represents different systems, it represents different organs, and it understands deeply how the organ is created, how it grew, what its history was, and how it's what's required for its maintenance and well-being and balance and health now. The awakening of that particular, like when we got started on this kidney healing, okay, the kidney healing's done if you want. He'll probably do this one as a clip for YouTube. But the thing is, when we started this healing, there was no way on earth I could have anticipated that it was going to become a massive healing for the kidneys. I couldn't. It's only because, you see, you guys, you touch my heart so much. It's only because we're here together as a collective, as this big, powerful healing collective, that these deeper healings and understandings and profound ability to leverage the potential of energy healing is possible. Last night, I kept stopping to tell you how beautiful you are. See how beautiful you are again. See how amazing and profound that was? I'm telling you, bringing balance to our kidneys is a key for not only at a collective level, but for each of us in an individual level of being able to navigate the changes that our sociopolitical world are going through at this time that are extremely challenging. So what we did in this healing is we upgraded this part of our physiologies so that we have the resources until we have access to infinite resources in the source of creation. We have access to the resources and tools to allow us as individuals, and God willing, anybody who on YouTube would like to come in on this clip, we'll probably put it up. You access them in order to stabilize your potential to be invincible and to witness in the light of the changes that are coming down the tubes these days for all of us. Witnessing allows you to maintain inner balance and equilibrium. It makes you strong so that whatever comes through, inner stability becomes the foundation for recognizing the truth and not being gripped by the emotions. There's a lot of, what do we want to call it? Like emotional, like a lot of the information that comes through these days is designed to activate the emotions, to spur a person on to feeling intense or fearful or whatever. And it just takes the wind out of that sail. This takes the wind out of the sail. But more than that, I think the long-term effects of this kidney healing are that it will allow all of us as we're moving into the future to better navigate the field of the unknown. Better navigate when information's coming through and it's not clear what's what, it's not clear what is actually the truth and what isn't the truth, all this is taken care of by the kidneys. Bless your kidneys. May they always be incredibly healthy. We deserve this and we need to do this so that we can move forward in this world with grace and leave some kind of beautiful, beautiful experience for those who come after us, like grandchildren. Okay, great question. Goodness gracious. Okay, we've got some more questions coming in over here, and I've got also some questions here. So let's look at one of these. Okay, it says a healing to balance the patterns of focusing awareness on the moods or the energies of other people and their influence in the astral body. Ooh, that's interesting. She's tying it into the astral body. Okay, so, and she kind of ties that in with a healing for people who had dysfunctional childhoods. Because of course, when people are really little, it's very hard not to feel overwhelmed by the feelings that are coming through the grown-ups in the environment. And if the grown-ups aren't doing okay, and if things are rough for the grown-ups, that can be really hard for the children too. So, and then that makes sense. Then sometimes when people become adults, they still don't know exactly how to set those boundaries and limitations, and it can be very difficult. So I think it was important that we just did the kidney healing first, because that definitely set up everyone in this energy healing webinar to witness experiences that are difficult or challenging, and to be much faster and more adept at deciphering out what's true and what's not true. And, in the case of other people, we have to define what is me and what's not me. Now, you could say, well, at the level of the source of creation, it's all me. And even at the causal body, it sure is pretty much all me, right? Because our causal bodies are stretched all the way out as big as the universe. And your causal body and my causal body, they really occupy pretty much the same space. So, but as we mentioned at the beginning of the session, when some experience or information comes from the environment and that experience or information ticks off a response, an emotional response in oneself, that really is your stuff. So if somebody says something, if you think, well, I'm very enlightened and I never lose my temper. But then something happens. I have to say, this totally happened to me. I was like, I don't really get angry at people. Since I was a little child, I was really repressing my anger all the time. So my mother noticed it even as a toddler, that I just I would never raise my voice or whatever. Anyway, yeah, so I have my anger under control. And then something happens and it's like you really feel angry. You really do. It's because the anger was there. It was there all along, but it just hadn't been completely processed and integrated and worked out. So that means that was my anger. And it wasn't hard at all. It wasn't even a little bit difficult once I said, oh, that's my anger. It's not that person's fault that I'm angry. It's my own thing. Their thing came to me to just get me to look. It's just to get me to look at it. And that once I looked at it and said, okay, I take responsibility for you, anger, then all of a sudden, all the resources I needed just flooded in to help me handle that emotion. And it took me years. It took years to learn to cultivate the speech patterns required to honor my deepest truth when the anger was there. And when you genuinely honor your deepest truth, you do so in a way that honors everybody else's deepest truth too. So it doesn't come out in a way that's rough or brutal or unkind, but it comes out in a way that's just like, here's the underlying issue that's going on, and this is what we need to address. Just like that, simple. I would give an example, but I'm being very careful not to bring examples in from current socio-political events and situations. So there we go. Anyway, yeah, so the healing is actually the healing for this would be a process of setting healthy boundaries and recognizing any feelings that we feel are our feelings, and they are there to help us evolve. And as soon as you recognize those feelings, if we take anger as an example, as soon as you say to yourself, oh, this anger is my tool, and I need it in order to unfold my full potential, all of a sudden the burn of the anger goes away and it's experienced more like a tool and less like a really super uncomfortable emotion. This is a download for the heart. It's a download. Where are my boundaries? What's right and fair? What is right and fair for me to say, you can go so far, but not beyond, to the next person? We are all one, essentially, but within the context of the world, each person is evolving. Each person, as an expression of the divine, is evolving in the way that works for them. And our evolutionary paths are a little different. And we have to honor our own path. We have to keep coming back to that heart's desire as a guidepost for where am I going and what's important for me and who should I have as my friends and so forth. Because it's all one. So even the boundaries are one. Even the boundaries are expressions of your divine intelligence, of your deepest potential, of your greatness, of your beauty. That download for the heart is really interesting. I'm just feeling it coming into the group. And what I'm noticing is it's integrating the emotional wisdom of the kidneys, right? Because the kidneys discriminate. So the healing for the kidneys is now helping the heart, just like the kidneys were talking to each other. Now the kidneys, they're talking to the heart. They're like, okay, we're here and you're here and we're here and I'm here and you're here. And they're like, oh, the heart can leverage the discriminating potential of the kidneys like advisors. Think of the heart as the king and the kidneys are the advisors to the king. It's like that. That element of discrimination is so helpful to be able to continue to be loving and kind and set boundaries with people. Know where those boundaries are. This is the body starting to become more integrated. And this is the loops of healing and integration starting to spread now from, we did it first in the kidneys, it's starting to spread. And of course, the first place it spreads to, no big surprise there, to the heart. Because the heart, as I mentioned, I've mentioned many times, is the administrator of the body. Upgrade, big upgrade for the heart. Big upgrade. And the thing is that when the boundaries are well set, the heart can actually be more loving because it's able to self-protect and self-nourish more effectively. Oh, I'm really, really keeping in mind everybody that I love so much and everybody who's here listening who has heart issues. This really is a lot of big healing for the hearts. Here's another question. We are in an evacuation order in central British Columbia, where I have been living for a month. The anti-light workers virtually moved in next door, oof, and had access above also. Somehow fear is not a feature. That's good. The subconscious, unconscious is playing out a storyline from life and lineage and the odd curse. There is a lot happening, truly. Yeah, I know, right? Us too. Linking with Mother Divine and her light flushes through all layers of the energy into Mother Gaia, still experienced bliss this week. Oh, God bless. I love Mother Divine, the Omnipotent. Yeah, I'm glad thank you for sharing your experience in such a vulnerable and personal, sweet way with everybody. Thank you. This experience of there's like a lot happening energetically. Okay, so when we do energy healing, the energy moves down here in the gap and it's a very visceral experience. It feels like energy moving deep inside. And it's not even, sometimes it feels physical, but sometimes it just feels like consciousness moving. And what I was noticing, I was having this was it yesterday morning or a day or so ago, and it just felt like it was never going to end. It was just like the energy was just moving and moving and moving and moving and moving and moving. And it was like that flushes. There were flushes going through the body energetically. And I knew it was purification. We can just bring a little bit of healing in here, particularly for the ancestral lines, folks, is that this experience of purification is not, it has not ever been defined over the course of centuries and generations as comfortable. And it's not a really super comfortable experience, like say eating your favorite food or something. It's not on that level of comfort, but it's not like horribly uncomfortable either. It's more like eating a food that's healthy for you, eating your vegetables, which the thing about eating vegetables is you can get used to them after a while. You can find a way to really love them. Find some spices and herbs that work with them or something. And there are ways of doing this. And the purification process is the same. It's like if the sweet were the only flavor you ever gave yourself, food would be boring after a while. You need a little bitter, you need a little sour, you need a little bit astringent and those other flavors, right? They help keep the doshas in balance. The point here is that the feeling of purification, it has like a certain specific feel to it. And once you recognize that and you kind of get onto it, then it's pretty easy to not inhibit the process. But the ancestors in the past, a lot of those older physiologies had built-in response systems to stress out when the purification process began. And as a result, at subconscious and unconscious levels of the mental body, and I'm seeing this healing going from the emotional, mental, etheric, and physical. So all those denser levels of the physiology are involved in this healing. We're clearing, first of all, we're clearing misinformation, misunderstanding, illusion, and then under that, clearing beliefs that it's a bad, that when you have that feeling of the purification, the movement of the energy, that that's somehow bad feeling. It's not bad feeling, it's good feeling. It's good because it leads to long-term benefits and stability. And ultimately, it positions you to be well prepared for what is yet to come. Because we know that if the socio-political situations are the way they are today, just wait till tomorrow, right? Like we have to use what's going on right now as a tool to prepare ourselves for what else may be coming down the pipes. So the thing about purification is when you get used to it and you recognize, oh, that's that purification feeling. Oh, that's that flushing feeling when I feel like something is being kind of pulled away from my system or my body, then it's easier to relax into the experience and let go of whatever needs to be let go. And another thing that I found seems to enhance and support efficient purification. First of all, not resisting. Any resistance just creates pain. But the other thing that seems to help is if I take that time that the flushing is going on to do a quick little body scan and see if there's any particular area of the body that's more involved or invested in that flush than others. And when you do that, you'll often find there is some area. And this morning, I had such a, God bless the people that I love so much in my life. The example that when the purification is directly addressing the ego sense of self, for most people, that tends to be more uncomfortable than other types of purification. I was saying to my husband, my time is precious to me, but if I find myself under time pressure, but then I have to stop and do something for somebody and it's taking more time, I can handle that. Or physical pain, I can handle that. But when something is pushing me on my ego, it's a little harder. It's addressing my own sense of who I am. And so there's a little pattern there that's like a weakness. It's a weakness of being able to purify in the ego. So for this, and I know we're coming to our minutes, but it's such a precious thing. And there's so many good questions still ahead. So many of you guys asked me such good questions. And because we're leaving in like 48 hours to drive 5 days with only what we can fit in our car for the next year, I don't know how I'm going to get to these questions, but I promise I will keep them. And I promise I will do what I can to address them because I adore you and your questions are really, really, really important to me. So, but just going in for this healing for the ego, because I really do think that this is one of the key players for all of us being able to evolve more quickly and more efficiently and more gracefully. The ego tends to sit down at that causal level. It's home. It resides down at a very deep level, sense of self, all those self-referral loops, all those loops of consciousness that go into those little regions of the causal body. Each one represents kind of like a facet of ego. Noticing familial egoic patterns. And particularly having to do with structure of ego. So that means If we call ego the sense of self, not everybody's ego is structured exactly the same way. We all have different structures. Ah, so ego sits here, but the differences in structures are a byproduct of how it shows up, coming up to the emotional level of the physiology. So we're really looking at the whole range between the source of creation down here, and then the very finest material level up to the emotional level, like that. So we're just looking at that. So before, healings were in the denser levels of the physiology. Now we're looking at healing down here in the subtler levels of expressed being. The differences are a byproduct of how the emotional body interfaces with the ego. Again, there's a little impulse from the heart, that love impulse. It always catalyzes. It always comes before healing. It catalyzes the healing process. But this time now the heart's had it upgrade. So it's much more discriminating, much better at producing. Like I'm noticing before, when there was a healing necessary, the heart would just start flowing and flowing with just pouring love, just washing everything in love. Now the heart is doing something different. It's producing one small impulse, but that small impulse is extremely abstract and deep and very highly defined, so that the heart is functioning more efficiently. It's giving out one little I'm thinking of an example. I'm thinking of an example, which was back in the days of Rome. The days of Rome, there was a lot of fighting. This country would fight that country, and that country is fighting that country. And the Spartans were known to be pretty tough guys. And they, as you know, Sparta is known for minimalist. And Athens made a threat to, I think it was Athens. My son told the story to me originally. He read the original text. And they made this threat to Sparta. And they're like, if we have to invade you, they wanted Sparta to, I think, come join their coalition or something. And they were saying, you know, if you don't join the coalition, we're going to have to invade you. And they said, if we have to invade you, you will be decimated. And they sent the guy, the runner, over there to give them the message, the tough message. And Sparta replied with a single word. Yeah. So our hearts are like Spartans. Our hearts produce just the one single little word that, and guess what? Athens didn't invade. The word if was scary enough. So this is efficiency. This is efficiency in energy healing. One little wave from the heart, little, but with so much intelligence contained within it. It carries, when it's little and it's so close to the source, it carries so much resource from the source, from being. It carries so much resource. Only one little wave is needed. One little wave. That little wave is enough to awaken the full potential of each person in this energy healing ability to work with the purification process and to recognize it immediately when the purification starts, and to use the purification as a means of supporting the expansion of small ego to its cosmic potential. The ego has a spectrum, a range from individual to cosmic, and all the in between, and the whole spectrum. There's that step, it steps back and it witnesses. Again, it's a little bit similar to the kidney healing, the ability of the ego to step back and witness whatever is the experience. So, okay, example. So something's coming. If if comes to Athens, and Athens is like, oh, that hurt. So the ego is able to step back and say, oh, this is my gift. This is coming to me as a gift. I feel a little bit ego shot down, but the ego gift here, the gift to the ego is purification. It raises the status of the ego to a higher level, the ability to step back and witness and not blame other people. Just because the ego is hurt doesn't mean it was somebody else's fault or problem. But more than that, also to use the ego can then use it as a tool to self-refer, to refer back into the ocean of being, because the ego is down here at this deep level. So as it refers back into the ocean of being, this referring back washes, it actually gives rise to the waves of purification. And the waves of purification move up through the whole relationship that ego has with its emotional structure, the emotional constructs, and it starts to heal, not just for you, but for generations and generations of ancestors. It starts to heal the way we respond emotionally to egoic experiences. It's not the ego that's really the bad guy, right? It's not, the enemy is not the ego. The enemy is having an entire construction up above that that gives rise to self-interacting dynamics that are self-damaging. The important thing is not to damage oneself. It's kind of simple, sort of a no-brainer. So I'm just feeling the movement there. It's a big purification and healing for the relationship between causal and emotional levels of the physiology, a self-referral fold of consciousness. But the beauty of this one is that every time it goes in, it dips down into the silence of being. So there's a nice loop that's going all the way down into the ocean of self, the ocean of totality, eternity, wholeness. And that dive down into wholeness is so useful for ensuring that the change and the purification and the healing is aligned with your highest good, aligned with the heart's deepest desire, which is also down at this level, so that the changes set you up to be well positioned, moving into the future and into whatever it is that our world brings next. Oh, so on that note, I see that we've come to our time, and I know I didn't get to answer a lot of questions, but you know what? My husband's really good about, God bless you. I just saw one go by. What if you have only one kidney? Doesn't matter. Your etheric body has both kidneys. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. He's really good about printing out the questions. And I'm going to have 5 days on the road to just relax and look at the questions and think about them and think about ways that we can bring out answers to everybody's questions even more completely and thoroughly as we move into the future and into future webinars. Thank you all so much for being with me. It has been amazing, always completely amazing, absolutely beautiful to be in your presence. I have so much respect for each one of you who've taken the time to join me here. I feel as if the work we're doing is vital and incredible, and I'm looking forward to spending more time with you and doing more of them in the future. The next webinar is in September. Not sure I remember what the title is, but hopefully by September I will have gotten that straightened out. And in the meantime, I'm just going to move across the country. So yeah, and I'll look forward to seeing you then. I'll be grandma. How about that? Happy to be there and happy to do that. Thank you all for being with me. I love you. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.